This was a hard list to make, guys. Hi everyone, it's me Gaming Do, and today I think it's finally time to redo this video. I've been watching movies ever since I was a little boy, probably about 6 months old, honestly. I forgot what my very first movie of all time was, but I can remember it was probably an animated movie, and it's time for my top 10 favorite movies of all time. Now, is this going to be a controversial list? I don't know. We'll see. But this is totally my opinion. And I think out of any list so far, this should be the most respectful one because I hold these movies so near and dear to my heart. And unlike something like Top 10 Loud House episodes, where they're really good, but they're not hidden gems or anything, pretty much all these movies are hidden gems in my opinion. These are perfect movies, pretty much. I think pretty much every one of these on this list is a 10 out of 10 movie. I could watch these films over and over and over again and never get tired of them. I will point out that there is going to be maybe a flaw or two in the first 5 on this list, but after that it's pretty much positives. Because in my opinion, no movie, well, I would say no movie's perfect, but in my opinion, these all are. But without further ado, let's get started. Coming in at my number 10 is going to be Shrek 1. Shrek 1 is just, memes aside, a comedy gem. It is comedy gold. Pretty much every joke they attempt in this movie lands perfectly. With the voice cast of Mike Myers, Eddie Murphy, and Cameron Diaz being, honestly, some of the best voice acting in all of animation. It's got beautiful animation for 2001. It's got a great fairy tale world. Its soundtrack is iconic. What else is there to say? Shrek 1 is perfect. I'd have to say my favorite part in this entire movie probably has to be the whole Dragon's Keep scene. That entire part where Shrek and Donkey save Fiona and they have to escape the Dragon's Keep. That part is a perfect mix of action and comedy, and it is the best part of the entire movie, in my opinion. And what else is there to say? It's Shrek. Of course, it's an awesome movie. Coming in at my number 9 is Avengers Endgame. Probably the biggest movie of last year, and probably the biggest movie of all time. This movie has everything you'd want from a Marvel movie. It has the action. It has the comedy. It has the emotion. It has all the characters. It has Thanos being a freaking badass. Avengers Endgame is... well, here's one of my flaws. And this is kind of maybe a nitpick. It's not a movie I would watch all the time because it is 3 hours long. It's a movie I might watch maybe every 6 months or so because of its length. Otherwise, it would probably be a multi-day viewing because I like to do other stuff than just watching a movie in a day. I know what you're saying. No, it'll only take up 3 hours. Yeah, I don't know if I can just sit still for 3 hours that often. Every blue moon I'm able to, but It's not often I'm able to sit through a 3-hour movie. But if I did have to pick my favorite 3-hour movie of all time, it would be this. Just anything you would want from a Marvel movie is in Avengers Endgame. My favorite scene in Avengers Endgame is, of course, the final portal scene where everyone in the MCU pretty much goes up and fights Thanos. That scene is one of maybe 2 or 3 scenes at a movie theater that got me teared up. I didn't cry or anything, but I got tears in my eyes, admittedly. It was just, I was cheering and screaming. It was 11 years coming to this, and it ended perfectly. Avengers Endgame is an amazing movie. Coming in at my number 8 is going to be Deadpool. Deadpool over Avengers Endgame? Yup. Here's the thing. I was a massive Deadpool fan as is. Before this movie came out, I loved the Deadpool game, I loved the Deadpool comics, I loved his appearance in Marvel Ultimate Alliance, which was actually my introduction to the character, was in Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 for the PlayStation 2. And when his movie came out, I was like, this has to be the first R-rated movie I've seen in the theaters. And as of this day, I've seen 4 R-rated movies in the theaters, which are the 2 Deadpool movies, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and It Chapter 2. Which, out of all of them, I think my ranking would be It Chapter 2, probably Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Deadpool 2, then this, Deadpool. Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool as, like, somebody like Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, or somebody like Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man. He is Deadpool. I don't know a single person who could play him better. I couldn't name somebody to replace him. Literally, it wouldn't be the same. At least with Wolverine, I think. I love Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, but I think you can get somebody new to play him. With Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds. That's all I can think of. And it proves it in this movie. He brings out the character from the comics perfectly. It is a hilarious movie with plenty of violent action, some hilarious scenes, and oh my god. My favorite scene in the whole movie, I'd have to say, is actually a tie. I have 2 favorite scenes. My 2 favorite scenes in the entire movie is the opening credits. That opening scene where they sing Angel in the Morning. It just sets up this movie perfectly. And then my other favorite scene in this movie is when Deadpool first becomes Deadpool and he's basically going to kick everyone's ass. And then he's riding the thing on the ice rink and he's telling him he's going to kill him with this thing in 5 minutes! That scene made me laugh hysterically in the theater when I saw this. What a movie. I love Deadpool. Coming in at my number 7 is Star Wars Return of the Jedi. Boo! No Empire? No. My favorite Star Wars movie has to come in at number 7, and it is Return of the Jedi. I just feel like everything comes together from all 3 of the movies, the best in this film. That final battle with Luke and Vader is just one of the best scenes in movie history, in my opinion. It just ends this whole trilogy perfectly. And I also really like how Luke and Leia are actually brother and sister. And then this film is pretty funny too. I mean, Jabba the Hutt is pretty funny. The only thing I would say is that little little monster guy who's like Jabba the Hutt's assistant, he's a little annoying. But besides that, there's not much to say. It's the original Star Wars trilogy. It's self-explanatory. All of these films are amazing, but in my opinion, this one's the best. Coming in at my number 6 is going to be Toy Story 1. This might have been the very first movie I have ever seen. I'm not 100% positive, but this might have been it. Because I have so many fond memories of this film. Watching it with my parents when I was about probably less than a year old, I remember I used to have a Buzz Lightyear action figure and a Woody when I was like less than 2 years old. And you want to know a fun fact? That Woody that I had when I was less than 2 years old is the Woody in Gaming Do plush. I have had that Woody more than any of my plushes. I got the Mario plushes around 2013 or so. I've had Woody probably since 2003 or so. So I've had Woody 10 years longer than the Mario plushes. I think I've had that Woody since 2003. So, yeah, I've had him for a long freaking time. 17 years with him. But that's besides the point. It's because of how amazing this movie is. You all know the characters. Woody, Buzz, Bo Peep, Rex, Potato Head, Ham, Slinky Dog, the Green Army Men, Sid, Scud. You name it, all the characters are amazing. And this is revolutionary in its animation. It has a great story and, in my opinion, some of the best music in animation history. And this is the third best Pixar movie on my list, because I like two a little more, or two of them a little more, but doesn't make up for the fact that this is an incredible movie. Coming into my top 5, bringing us into the top 5, is going to be SpiderMan. I actually saw this movie when I was probably a little too young to see it. I was like 5 or something. I saw it about a month before Spider-Man 3 came out, and I actually saw Spider-Man 3 in the theater. But I always loved the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy. And embarrassing opinion, I like Spider-Man 3. Don't love it like the first two, but Spider-Man 3 was a good movie in my opinion. Venom sucked ass, but I feel like it certainly ended its story better than the freaking Mark Webb films did, or the Amazing Spider-Man films did. It actually felt semi-conclusive, unlike the Amazing Spider-Man films. Spider-Man 3 wasn't a great film, but it was an alright film. Spider-Man 1 is my favorite of that trilogy, and is my 5th favorite movie of all time, meaning it's a flawless movie. I love the Green Goblin in this film, played brilliantly by Willem Dafoe. He is my personal favorite movie villain of all time. It's him. He just defines what it's like to be a movie villain. And Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man, unfortunately, I think Tom Holland has dethroned him in my opinion. But he's damn close. And you know what's also great about this film? it feels like a Spider-Man film, but at the same time, it kinda doesn't. It feels like its own thing while having the spirit of Spider-Man, and I'd have to say my favorite scene in this movie is probably the ending fight scene between Goblin and Spider-Man. It's pretty violent, even for a PG-13 film. You'd be surprised. But I would have to say, if I do have one flaw, it's a tiny bit cheesy. It's definitely more cheesy than something like the later MCU films, or any of the MCU films, actually. But, you know what? It's great fun, and I love it more than pretty much any superhero film ever. I think this is my favorite. This is my favorite comic book film of all time. Definitely far none. Because coming in at my number 4 is Good Will Hunting. Probably my favorite drama of all time. And really, this is the film that got me to love Matt Damon. The very first film I ever saw Matt Damon in was actually The Martian. I saw that film in my environmental science class back in late 2017, my sophomore year of high school, and that film was really good. I enjoyed it, but Good Will Hunting I saw at the very end of my junior year of high school. I think it was like May 2019 I saw it, and it's a wonderful film. One of the best films of all time. Matt Damon and Robin Williams floor it. They killed it in this film. They did wonderful. Their acting is the way actors should act. They should take notes from this film on how to act in a movie. This is it. It shows that pretty much some people just don't want to bring out their true potential. And that makes me a little sad, because some people are geniuses, but they don't want to bring it out. And just the "it's not your fault" scene is my favorite scene, and it just talked about 3 movies that have brought me to get misty-eyed. This is one of the 3. Avengers Endgame was 1, Good Will Hunting is 1, and the number 1 spot on here is the 3rd one. And I love this film so much. It's brilliant. Bringing us into the top 3 is going to be Toy Story 2. Yeah, I like Toy Story 2 more than the first one. For the simple reason, it just does everything from Toy Story 1, but better. It makes the characters better, it makes the animation better, it makes the comedy better, it makes the drama better, and just, it's a lot more memorable. I can quote probably a lot more Toy Story 2 quotes than Toy Story 1 quotes, even though I'm good with my Toy Story 1 quotes. I don't know what else to say. It's Toy Story 2. I'd probably have to say my favorite scene in that movie is the airport scene. The whole scene, the whole part where they're in the airport, from the part where they arrive to the part where Woody and Jesse get off the plane. That entire part of the movie is just excellent. My favorite, probably my favorite scene in Pixar history, even though as a whole, my favorite Pixar movie of all time will be up next. And speaking of which, coming in as my second favorite movie of all time, we have got Finding Nemo. Finding Nemo is like the most human movie of all time, despite 90% of the cast is fish. It truly shows how much a father cares for their kid or a parent cares for their kid, that they would travel across the entire ocean just to save their lives. If that's not true parenthood, I don't know what is. And you can't forget about Dory, even though she'd probably forget about this review. No, I'm just kidding. Finding Nemo is such a great movie. It has the best animation out of any film in history. It's just marvelous to look at. It just... Look at the colors. Look at the animation in the ocean. Look at the scene when Mr. Ray is swimming to the drop-off. That part is the best animation in film history. There, I said it. It's just breathtaking. And if I had to pick my favorite scene from Finding Nemo, it would probably be... I'd have to say... probably the turtle scene. That comes as a close second for the animation, but it's just so much fun yet. It truly shows. I think that's the part of the movie where Marlin really grows a little bit. I think learns to accept Dory a little more. And the turtle scene, I think, is my personal favorite scene in the movie. And yeah, it's my favorite scene and my second favorite film of all time. But what's my number one? Well, we'll see that after the honorable mentions. The honorable mentions are going to number 15, Madagascar. A really fun film about zoo animals escaping the Madagascar. I'd have to say my favorite scene in that film is the What a Wonderful World scene. Number 14, Guardians of the Galaxy. This is what made me love the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Plain and simple, my favorite scene in that film is Groot's sacrifice. Number 13, Ghostbusters. My favorite 80s movie of all time, with some absolutely brilliant, I don't know what you'd call it. Is it CGI? I don't think CGI was around back then, but the ghosts are excellent looking, and my favorite scene in the movie is the final battle. Number 12 is Shrek 2. After watching the first one again, I do think the first one is slightly better, but this is damn close. My favorite scene in Shrek 2 is the whole I Need a Hero scene. Number 11 is Spider-Man Homecoming. This is a movie that defined my summer 2017. That and the number one spot. But we'll get to that in a second. Why do I love Spider-Man Homecoming so much? Because it's everything I want from a Spider-Man movie. He's a kid. He's not like a 35-year-old adult playing Spider-Man. He's a kid. He's in high school. He looks like a high schooler. They make the tone like a high school movie. And he's not, like, extremely experienced, like somebody like Tony Stark or Iron Man. And he gets the living shit beating out of him. beaten out of him by the Vulture. And it's just everything I'd want from a Spider-Man movie. And that's why it's my number 11 spot. I do prefer the original just because of how iconic it is, but Spider-Man Homecoming is a close second. And it defined my summer 2017. Not as much as the number one film, though. This 2017 movie changed my life for the better. If it wasn't for this movie, I might not have given a lot of movies a chance. I would always go see very mainstream movies. Like something like an animated movie, or it had to be a Marvel movie if it wasn't an animated movie. But this changed my mind. This movie changed my mind when I saw it in theaters in 2017. That film is War for the Planet of the Apes. I remember coming home to the theater in complete silence. Got watery-eyed as hell. Closest to crying at a movie ever was during this movie. And thank God I saw the first two first. Because if I didn't, I probably wouldn't have liked this movie as much as I did. But it ends a trilogy as good as a trilogy possibly could. The phenomenal cast of Andy Serkis and my personal favorite Steve Zahn role of all time, Bad Ape. He brings a perfect mix of comedy to this freaking really dramatic movie. It's like a war movie with monkeys. It's a war movie with monkeys. It's not like, oh, a very cartoony movie. This movie is like a freaking war movie. It's legitimately a very serious film. There are dead apes everywhere in this movie. Apes have learned to use guns in this series. It's not like some cartoony movie. It's gonna floor you if you see it. I promise you. The development of Caesar is the best character development in any form of media I have ever seen. We see his entire life in this series. From pretty much the moment he was born to the moment he died. We've seen his entire life in this story. From the first movie where he was first born to the last movie at the very end when he died. It just shows that he goes from a fun-loving ape to a freaking warrior to learning to be kind of soft again. But Caesar's story arc is, honest to God, the reason why I made salad for GD Plus is because of Caesar. Caesar salad, there you go. But that's besides the point. Every single character is great. I think his name was Maurice, the orangutan. All the other apes. The little girl, just... You want to talk about a flawless movie? It's War for the Planet of the Apes. My personal favorite movie of all time, and I think I'm going to go watch it right now. And that's about it. Gaming Do here. See you later. Bye.